Here we are on the north coast, where sporting legends are made. He needs this putt to advance to the next stage, but can he do it? The crowd are holding their breath. Can he cope with the pressure?
Dad, would you take the shot?
Yes!
Yeah.
Well,
Hello and welcome to Guess Who's Talking with me, Linda Bryans. Well, tonight my first guest is a Larne man who's been a stalwart of local show business since the late 1960s. In the height of our troubles, he promoted bands and entertainers in venues right across Northern Ireland. He is Cecil Thompson. Cecil, very welcome. Now, many of us will know you. Many of us will know you as just CT.
yes, that's
it's
okay.
great to be known just by initials like J-Lo, JFK, CT.
Only they're big.
Well, you're pretty big here yourself, aren't you? How long is it now? You've been going since the 1960s. Who were your first acts that you promoted?
First act was a small band in Larne called the High Seas, local guys, and they needed somebody to promote and try get them gigs, and so I had to go at that. My next band was the Sunshine Band.
Sunshine, of course, yeah.
And my first promotions were actually in the town hall in Larne, where we had some very high-flying acts at that time. We had Sam Mahood and the Soul Foundation started off, and then we had Love Affair, who were very big at the time, I think Everlasting Love, and Dave D. Dozy Beaky McIntyre. Some of your viewers might remember them.
So I'm sure that a lot of them would remember them. And so Sunshine, you mentioned there, were the big act, and they actually went on to reach national fame, didn't they?
Yes, in 1976, the band were working fairly steadily here, but they were a little bit in sort of crossroads situation, and I had my office in London at the time, and I was friendly with a very famous guy in those days, which I don't know if any of you viewers would remember, was Mickey Most. So Mickey Most was a judge on a talent competition, and we met a few times in London, and he said, you should put those guys in for Hughie Green's show, Opportunity Knocks, but you must get on top of that guy because he's a hell of a bully.
He was talking about the late Hughie Green.
Hughie Green, yeah.
Right. Okay. So you had a bit of forewarning. And how did you get them to Opportunity Knocks then? Was that difficult?
We went for the auditions and came flying through those. And then with being in London, I had an office in Thurlow Place in South Kensington, and everything was quite high flying over there at the time. So I went over there quite a lot in between my promotions here. I managed with another contact to get a hold on Hughie, excuse me, a bit of a cold, and to say to Hughie, look, let's meet up for an hour some night. So we had dinner in San Lorenzo, which was pretty famous at the time.
Very posh, yeah.
Closed down now. It was a showbiz sort of a restaurant. And then we went to the local casino where I was a member at the time, played once a year or so, and we firmed some friendship up. But I was still aware that I had to be careful of Hughie because he wanted to stamp his identity on everybody, and he wanted to tell you what way it should be done.
And in the first appearance in Opportunity Knocks, they won that night.
First appearance in Opportunity Knocks, we did a song called Waterloo, which everybody knew at the time.
The ABBA song.
The ABBA song. And we gave it a complete blast. It was phenomenal. And then there was the clapometer, and that was difficult because you had to try and win the studio vote. So in the middle of the studio was the clapometer speakers. So I got the two roadies from Sunshine myself, and we commanded the area of the clapometers, and we got the biggest clap. And you can actually learn to clap big, and that was big clapping. And so we walked that first one, but then was a big challenge.
That was because you were standing beside the machine that recorded the
Yes,
noise of the clapping.
Absolutely, we took it over. So then there was the big problem of getting the votes, and we knew we'd get a lot of votes from Northern Ireland, because Northern Ireland people are very passionate. They're right behind their musicians and artists and sportsmen, and it's a great place to live.
Back in the day, then people would have written in or phoned in to vote.
It was really, yes, it was really unusual, because we had to get thousands of postcards, thousands of stamps, stamp the postcards, and then of course there was the factory where I had worked in Larne. So I think I ended up being thrown out of the factory because we were an annoyance, but everybody had to vote. We went to Belfast, we went up and down the streets with the cards stamped, and you had to do a vote for Sunshine. And for 6 weeks we did that. Wow. With great songs, a couple of songs from the Carpenters, the New Seekers. We were really, really top notch.
Another of the big bands that you promoted or possibly managed was the Miami Show Band, of course. Tell me a little bit about them.
Miami Show Band was managed by a really good Dublin guy called Tom Doherty. And Tom had been playing the Castlebrand Bridge, which was one of the Romano circuit, because I had by that time 23 venues around the country. And part of the circuit was Romano's, and part of it was Billy Hastings hotels. So the Miami needed a Wednesday booking to coincide with something else they had. It was normally a Friday. I didn't like the idea of it, but we worked a deal, and unfortunately, the greatest tragedy ever in show business in the world maybe happened, and everybody knows about that. Yeah. They played the venue. I wasn't there on the night, and the guys got attacked.
So that was on the way home then, when they were attacked.
And I was under pressure at the time, because police and people were saying to me everywhere, you know, that did you see anybody? Did you know of any plans? Did you see any guys coming in the weeks before that might have been planning to do this? And I didn't know anything, and it's difficult to talk, except for the fact that not only did it happen, but one of the greatest talents in the country, could have been almost like a Bieber, was Fran O'Toole. Fran O'Toole was the lead singer, and he'd got quality.
Yeah. It must have been very difficult back in those days. I mean, you know what it was like. Nobody was coming here. We didn't have a normal society in the Troubles. So you would have been fighting against all of that and trying to get bands promoted and people over here and so on. It must have been a real challenge.
Well, it was a challenge, and I booked Tina Turner at that time.
The Tina Turner?
The Tina Turner, because I thought Jim Aiken and I were fairly friendly. I went to his gigs in the Orpheus and everywhere. He was Tuesday night in the Orpheus. And I booked Tina Turner from Martial Arts, who were their European managers at the time, and started to plan the tickets, plan the show. One of the venues was the King's Hall, another was down south. And in the contract was, if the troubles escalate, we can cancel. And Tina Turner was staying, I think, in an apartment somewhere near Harrods. Troubles got worse and they cancelled, so I thought, no, I'm not going to bother doing concerts. I'll concentrate on the bands. But after the Miami tragedy, so many bands just would not come up. And at that time, the ballrooms were struggling anyhow, because we couldn't get licensing for the ballrooms. And it was a really bad time for a number of years, and the guys wouldn't come up because the main big bands were in the south.
Yeah, but you stuck at it, and then in the 80s and 90s there were people like Sunita, Johnny Logan. All of those acts were all yours.
Yes. Well, the Stormont Hotel was... the Stormont Hotel and the Europa Hotel were the two main places at that time. And the Europa Hotel was interesting because Jerry Fitt, for instance, the politician, and his daughters would go. Also Edwin Heath, the hypnotist, and he had two daughters, and they would all go. It was country music, and they all jived. So that was great. But Johnny Logan, the Stormont Hotel, he had the white jacket on. He was fabulous. He was managed at the time. His
Oh,
record
he was
company
lovely,
was
wasn't he?
CBS.
He was a gorgeous guy.
And Louis managed him with Tommy Hayden, Louis Walsh, and I did the North and some in Scotland and things like that. But he was, you were a girl that really liked, I think, the Trendy Boys, and he was he was Mr. Trendy. But I think maybe the CBS didn't put the work in for him as the record company. And he ended up doing a lot in Germany. I was talking to him about 10 years ago.
Yeah, he was really big in Europe, wasn't he?
Really big in Europe, Germany and Japan and everywhere.
So then just moving on, there were lots of DJs in your stable as well when disco came in, yeah?
Yes. Jay Caulfield was a great DJ, and also the late Big T, may he rest in peace. Yes. Big T was my first DJ in the Deer Park in Antrim, and he was a pop DJ at the time. And he ended up, of course, in the big country scene.
Mm-hmm. CT, you're still working.
Yes, enjoying it, yeah.
And I'm not going to ask how many decades, but
or what age I am,
or what age you are.
Thank
I'll
you
leave that to you.
for
If
that.
you want to fill in the blank, you can.
I'm not young.
Who are your acts now?
Well, my acts now would be This Way Up, which is interesting because their daddy was toured with me at Wembley, and we played with Johnny Cash and Frank Ifield, and they appeared a few times in RTE. New band called the Lively Lads, which is very, very good. The original Sunshine with a guitar player still there, David Wright, and their boy band, sort of male lineup, and a few like that. And it's all going well. The Untouchables would be the band that's probably better known than most, and they've been around a while. And
no sign of you taking it easier, slowing up? You're working and you're working until...
Mm-hmm. Well, as long as I can swim from here, from Larntine and McGee, I'm going to keep at it.
Swim? You swim?
Yeah, I swim a bit, yeah.
Oh my word, that's obviously what keeps you youthful and young. And
it could
keep
well
going.
be, if I'm not that young and I'm not that youthful.
Well, you could have fooled me. Cecil Thompson, thank you so much. It's been
It's a pleasure.
to talk
Thanks.
to you. I hope you'll stay with me because in just a moment we're going to talk to another well-known face from a slightly more recent TV talent show. He is Maliki Kush, and he joins us after the break.
Heading to the North Coast? The Jet Centre in Coleraine offers entertainment for everyone. There's an 8-screen movie house cinema with all the best movies, 10-pin bowling, a massive arcade, soft play for the wee ones. Outdoors, there's a mini fun park and gem mining, plus an 18-hole floodlit mini golf course. Rain or shine, there's something for everyone here at the Jet Centre. Find out more at thejetcentre.co.uk.
Hello again. Now in 2002, my next guest appeared on a TV show that changed his life. Fame Academy was one of the forerunners to the X Factor and Britain's Got Talent and more. And it's where Maliki Kush found stardom. Maliki, you're very welcome to the programme.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Does it seem like 20 odd years ago?
Do you know what? In many respects, it feels like it never happened.
Why is that?
It was a short window in my life, and it was sort of like a whirlwind period. And I think when you're younger, you take things a little bit more, at your stride. And I think if I was doing it today, I would be more ambitious to win the thing. I think at that time I was just, I hadn't entered myself. My father entered me. It's a bit like Opportunity Knocks you were talking about. A VCR was sent, and it was my father had done it. I didn't know anything about it until the letter came to invite me to an audition. And even at that stage, I wasn't quite sure what it was, and that's the truth, until I found myself in London and in this incredible arena of talent and people who I still are friends with today. But I was, at that point, I was working with a two-piece band at home, and I thought, well, if this gets me a few extra gigs, happy days.
Well, he obviously saw potential in you, didn't he?
Well, he always did, and so did my parents. My parents were, there wasn't a lot of money around, but anything they had, they gave it to us, invested in our future. And they probably clocked that I wasn't interested in the books, music, and ladies were on my radar. So they probably my father probably clocked that a little nudge in the right direction. And yeah, no, it was a 6-month period, and that included the whole tour, an arena tour, and that was coming from doing pub gigs and all of that. So the wealth of experience that I received through working with television cameras and with the songwriting coaches and even choreography and things like that were completely alien to me. But there's no way I would have ever have been able to have afforded that sort of coaching, that sort of experience. And the rest is history, and there's been so much has happened since.
Well, exactly, it didn't do you any harm at all. Look where you're at, and you've made a career out of it, right?
Yeah, and I've done extremely well. It hasn't been plain sailing all the way, and I suppose that's true for anyone in any type of business. But I've kept going, and I remember a fella called Don Reedman who gave me my first record contract, and he was an Australian guy, an incredible nice fella, and he said, "You know what? This is where it begins. Your talent is God-given. That'll bring you somewhere. But hard work is what it will take to keep you here. You're given the talent from somewhere else, but you got to work at it. If you don't work hard, you'll be left behind."
Do you think those people who are on X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, all of these modern talent shows recognise that? There's so many people. I don't even know. Who was it who won the one that you were on? Do you remember?
David Snedden. Yeah,
well,
but Lamar came second, and David Snedden was the smartest one of the whole lot, because he took his winnings of 250,000 and he put it into building a studio in Glasgow, and he has written songs for Take That, for Ed Sheeran. He has collaborated with some of the biggest names in the industry, and he is a very wealthy guy now with the bank of it. He was the smart one. He knew where the money was. I knew how to spend it. But to answer your question, I'm not quite sure. There isn't the longevity now that maybe Girls Aloud were on the go at that time, and we'd have met them in the circuit. Those were the people that were on. They had the X Factor starting, or Britain's Got Talent starting at that time, and they'd won that. We were on that circuit. The longevity isn't there so much now. I think, if I'm honest, I think probably reality search for talent programs have maybe ran their course a little bit. I think the pool is a little bit dry. Maybe a few years, if they give it a break and come back, there might be all this talent that is there. But again, record companies and all that are changed completely now. People are learning their own craft at home. They have their own studios at home. Young people have more talent now than ever. Our generation had. I have a nephew who can play 6 instruments. I was happy to play guitar and a bit of piano. And you look at young people now, and I think they have a lot more opportunity, and they can create a lot more. But I don't know if the avenues are still there for their wonderful talent to be heard. I suppose that's maybe where these programs have given them that platform, that vehicle.
Well, you've expanded your whole repertoire. It's not only performing for you, now you've collaborated with some of the biggest names in the business, and still touring. Yeah,
still touring. I had a wonderful run there pre-Christmas. We were in Paris, we were in London, and we did all our dates were sold out around here, and that's something we don't take for granted. I remember going to gigs in halls thinking, what is going wrong here? And it takes a little bit, if you have to have a bit of a backbone too, because and the old Teflon skin just to wade through the dark days. So we don't take anything. I don't take anything for granted now. But I'm grateful that I'm still there. I have an album coming out now. Johnny Cash's sister Joanne features on it. My great friend Karen McGuckin's on it. Jolene O'Hara's on it. Really good talent. Friends that I've made. Friends that I've gathered along the way. And I think actually I do probably believe that this album is the best piece of work that I've done, and I started this well before my accident. So like years ago I would have been rushing to get stuff out, to be keeping myself credible. And I realised, you know, that's a mistake, because listening back to some of the material that I've released, I wouldn't be best content with it on reflection. This I've taken my time with. I haven't laboured it. I haven't, you know, stressed about getting deadlines. When it's ready, it's ready. It's ready now. And we're pleased with it. We're going to do a big launch, and I haven't done that in a long time either. And that says something to the, you know, sort of contentment that I'm at. And I'll put it out there, and it might not sell what I'd like it to sell, but I don't care, because I look at my material now as, if I listen to it in 10 years' time, will I be satisfied? Will I be happy with it? And I think I will with this.
Yeah. You mentioned the accident there. When was that? And tell me a little bit about that. It was a
June-
long recovery for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, June 2019, and that was one of the, moments of life where things were going pretty well. I had a series with Eamon Malley and his production company called Home, and we were going for a second series in that, and that was presented for television, and that went really well. We were just preparing to start the second series of that when I was struck, I was in the street. The car had got out of control and hit me and my car. I was outside the car putting stuff into the boot, and it pushed my car 2 car parking bays, leaving me and another fellow seriously injured. And I was airlifted to the Royal here in Belfast, where I got incredible care. But it was 2 years of recovery, 3 surgeries on this leg, and I keep saying thank God for the medical professionals, because they put me back together again. Had I had the injury I had even 6 months prior, the expertise wouldn't have been there to save the leg. So I was very lucky, and it's as strong now and as solid as ever it was. But it was a moment that stays with me. It's sort of like they talk about the crossroads in life.
Yeah.
It's another one of those crossroads. I think there's not one crossroad but many in life. And I realised that, the phone was very busy for the first few weeks after the accident while I was in hospital and all that. But I had a mortgage to pay. I was self-employed. Diary I had to just cancel everything because I wasn't fit to do what was necessary. And then you find the phone getting quiet because you're off the scene. And in fact, I had to start rebuilding again. It was like another rebuilding and a rebirth in many degrees. A lot of lessons in that period of my life.
Does something like that really is equally life-changing for you? Does it really kind of make you change your priorities and
Absolutely, yeah.
refocus?
Absolutely. And I think the secret is, I have a friend who's undergoing treatment at the moment, and the future looks bright. And like myself, they've had it's a moment where you get a lot of time to assess what's important, reassess what's important, be grateful for what you have. You realise that your circle is very small, the circle that matter. And your friends and family are those ones who are there to hold you up in those dark days are the ones that matter. I said to my friend recently, we were talking about this, and I said the secret is to remember that. Because you get back to normality and life can get back, and it's busy. It's important to remember, when you're at your lowest, the lessons you learn there.
Yeah. And your faith's important to you, Maliki, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very, very important. I'm on my final year studying theology.
You're not.
Yeah. So I started it prior to the accident. So it's a 6-year course. It's taken me 9 years because I had to take a step out because of, life conspired against me with the accident. And then, of course, my father got ill and one thing or another. So I'm in my final year. I'll be finished in June. I'll be graduating in Maynooth with my theology degree. And people ask, where's that going? What's that leading me to? I've always said, whenever I was a young fella, I studied religion and music and accounts as my A-levels. The accounts were terrible. I was always good at spending money, not so good at investing or anything like that. But religion and music have remained a constant in my life, and I got A's in religion and music. And I've got a teaching diploma in music, which I use to teach young children a couple of days a week. But the theology, it's just, I've always had a desire to know a little bit more, trying to broaden my understanding of what happens when we die, effectively, what comes after, what's it all about. And the course is called Theology and Lifelong Understanding, and I think it has definitely helped me understand the important things in life. It's not just religion. You learn about social justice, you learn about morality, learn about ethics and business and all of these things that, so often are lacking, and I think are so important in life.
I know you do some shows for RT, you do some presenting as well. How are you finding that? Is that a whole new area for you too?
Well, whenever I was doing in fifth year, I did my work experience in the local radio station. Of course, we had local radio stations then. So I always had an interest.
In Donaghmore?
It was in Cookstown. It was based in Cookstown.
Right.
So it was called Townland FM, and it was really, really popular. And I did my work experience there. Always enjoyed listening to radio, and would have done some presenting for BBC Radio Ulster down through the years, and still do a little bit for them. And whenever RTE came along and RTE Radio 1, life throws opportunities your way, and the opportunity came when I met a director from there, and he just said, "Why have you never approached us for anything?" And I said, "Because I thought you wouldn't look at me for love or money." And he said, "Well, you wouldn't know." And I had this idea of healing sounds, where I would talk to people about moments in life that change your life. Let that be, like for myself, an accident, loss of someone, illness, so many different areas, bankruptcy, and all of the different things that life can throw at you. But how music can form a part of the healing process, and how you do get to the better day. That there's hope at the end of the line. And the whole genesis of that was me having the accident and sitting in the rehab unit in Belfast, being fitted with an anti-gravity suit to help me put weight through my leg. And on the radio was Elton John singing "I'm Still Standing." And I'm like, there you go. But it was the one moment that I realised music's just going to be part of this healing journey as well. So Healing Sounds has been wonderful. We have had 2 series, very successful series with that, and another one on the offing. And met some wonderful people as well.
I bet you have. And you're healing well from the injury too.
Yeah. I keep saying there's a little bit of a hangover from time to time. It will remind me, my leg and my back will remind me that, not to go too heavy on myself. But listen, I'm standing here. I'm great. Listen, I'm really good, and life's good.
Tell me, what does 2025 hold in store for you?
Well, as I said, the album is the important thing for this year. It's the focus.
When's that coming out? When?
So Easter.
Easter
It'll be
time,
released
great.
in Easter. It'll be released on Easter week, and we've already dropped a single with my friend Carol McGuckin, which is the beautiful song called "Fall on Me." Not my own composition, but the next one.
He has a great voice, doesn't he, Carl McGuckin?
And we work together so often and so well, and we're from the same area, and we have great friendship. But they say, when you're working with top people, it brings you up in your game a little bit. And I think that's true. And I find that when Carl is soaring them notes, then it gives you an extra octave, shall we say. So that's coming out, and we're releasing a song that I had written, which Johnny Cash's sister Joanne released in Nashville. It got #1 in Nashville in the Nashville Christian Music Charts, which is big out there for 5 weeks. So we're releasing that duet with her as well.
Great. So be a busy year ahead then.
Busy year, yeah. But listen, as long as it lasts, I'll be
absolutely stick at it. Cecil, 2025, any highlights coming up for you?
2025, a few more charity functions. Very interesting one I'm part of, Belfast East Rotary Club.
Aye.
And Belfast East Rotary Club, their president, Billy Geary, has been in all the newspapers recently. He's coming 102.
Oh, wow.
And
can he swim from Larne to
Island McGee?
Well, he mightn't, but he has a couple of girlfriends, a few more than I have. I have only one.
Well, that says enough about him. That's obviously he's doing all right.
That's my wife, better say. And it is fantastic, the stuff that he does. And he's very outgoing. And so we're having a gig at Royal Belfast Golf Club celebrating making £11,000 for Alzheimer's a fortnight ago. Incredible. And I phoned him up and I said, "No, Billy, he lives in the Knock Road." I said, "Billy, I'm going to call for you and make sure you get there, and don't worry." "Oh, no, you won't. I have a girlfriend taking me." So anyway, this is the girl he plays bridge with. So, yeah, well, the Untouchables have a new song that they're talking about putting out.
There's a great
and
song.
Brian
There's a
Giffen,
great song that Phil Coulter called "Life and the Old Dog Yet."
I think that's it.
I think that's your friend's song there.
A great note to end on. Plenty in store for the both of you. Thank you so much, Maliki Kush, Cecil Thompson.
Good to see you.
Cecil. Take care,
Thank
brother.
you so much. And continued success to you both. And thank you for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.